Today, we are going on a fascinating journey through the sands of ancient Egypt to explore its mysteries and secrets. Before you is a quiz that will test your knowledge of pharaohs, pyramids, hieroglyphics, and many other aspects of this majestic ancient civilization. Who is Hatshepsut? Tutankhamun's chief wife. Goddess with the head of a cat. Female pharaoh. Hatshepsut was the first ruler of ancient Egypt to hold the title of pharaoh. Her name means first among noble women. She became the fifth pharaoh of the 18th dynasty during the period known as the New Kingdom. What is Takhemet? This is what the Egyptians called death. The name of the afterlife in ancient Egyptian mythology. Self-name of ancient Egypt. The Egyptians themselves called their country Takhemet, which means black land or black earth. It was a small strip of fertile soil stretching along the banks of the Nile. The main part of the country was the Red Land, named so because of the characteristic color of the sand, or desert. What is the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead devoted to? Description of the torments of hell. Description of burial technology. Religious and funeral texts. The Book of the Dead in ancient Egypt is a collection of Egyptian funerary texts. It is a collection of magical incantations designed to help the deceased overcome the dangers of the netherworld and find prosperity in the postmortem. The original ancient Egyptian title of the collection is often translated as the Book of the Day of Coming or Spells of the Day of Coming Out. The first capital of the Egyptian kingdom. Memphis. Thebes. Babylon. The first capital of the ancient Egyptian kingdom was Memphis, located on the west bank of the Nile, about 20 kilometers from modern Cairo. It was erected at the boundary of Upper and Lower Egypt. According to Greek mythology, the city was named in honor of Epiphos, the wife of the king of Egypt and daughter of the river god of the Nile, Memphis. Who did the ancient Egyptians consider a living god? The chief priest. Pharaoh. Amun-Ra. The Egyptian pharaoh was considered a living god. He was honored as a god. Ordinary people were not allowed to even look at him, much less speak to him or touch even his shadow. During festivals or celebrations, the Lord was carried on a special stretcher covered on all sides with curtains. Who was the second person in the state after the pharaoh? Pharaoh's chief wife. Pharaoh's first son. Chati. The most important person in the Egyptian social hierarchy was the pharaoh. Pharaoh, the absolute monarch of Egypt, under his full control were all the resources of the country. Below the pharaoh comes the highest, ruling class, scribes and officials. The most important here are Chati and nomarchs. Chati was the second person in the state after the pharaoh. He managed the treasury, royal treasuries, state granaries, was responsible for construction, legal system, and archives. What were among the mandatory attributes of the pharaoh? Fake nose, fake beard, false eyebrows. Pharaoh had to have certain attributes that distinguished him from his subjects. A false beard was a symbol of the king's power and masculinity, made artificially and gartered. What does the term religion mean? The ability to obey someone. Belief in the forces of nature. Belief in supernatural forces. Religion is people's belief in God or gods, in supernatural forces capable of performing miracles, and also the belief that a person has a soul that continues to exist after the death of the body. Religion occupied an important place in the life of the Egyptians. They believed that natural processes and people's lives were ruled by all-powerful gods. Why were Egyptian fields like chessboards? The head of Egypt liked to play chess. The fields were made square so that it was convenient to cultivate them. They made embankments around the fields so that water would stagnate in them during the dry season. On the banks of the Nile, the Egyptians built earth embankments that separated one field from another. The embankments made the whole country look like a chessboard when viewed from above. During floods, the water stagnated for a long time in the squares formed by the embankments. Moisture soaked into the ground and the fertile silt settled. The land became ready for plowing. What were amulets for in ancient Egypt? They were jewelry for men and women. They were jewelry for women, for protection from evil spirits and misfortune. Amulets, and talismans were used in all spheres of life to bring happiness, good luck, prosperity, and health to oneself and loved ones, to ward off harm and evil, to protect, keep away from diseases, poison, wounds, dangerous living and inanimate creatures, bad people. The making of these magic objects in ancient Egypt was a sacred and very honorable craft and took place according to a special ritual. Which animal was featured on the headdress of the pharaoh's uraeus? Mongoose, cobra, bull. The term uraei comes from the ancient Egyptian light-bearing serpent. On royal headdresses, this symbol was attached to the forehead in the form of a cobra, representing the wisdom of the solar deities. Uraei was an attribute of divine power in Lower and Upper Egypt. What kind of writing did the ancient Egyptians use? Phoenician, hieroglyphics, cuneiform. Ancient Egyptian hieroglyphic writing is one of the oldest types of writing in the world. In ancient Egypt, writing was called the language of the gods. It was believed to have been created by Thoth, the god of knowledge and wisdom. Hieroglyphs played a key role in the performance of royal duties. They were used by the pharaohs and their priests to record the achievements of the rulers.